Everybody in the SEC knows the names Carson Beck, Jalen Milroe, Jaxson, Dart, and Brady Cook. They all led their teams to prominent bowl games, double-digit win seasons, and in Milroe's case, after being benched in week 3, he turned on the Jets and led Alabama back to the college football playoff. Most SEC fans, most college football fans also know the name Quinn Ewers, and well, they should. He just guided Texas to their best finish since 2009 and was a play away from making it to the national championship. But what about the newcomers in the SEC? Who's taking over in Lexington? Who's taking over in Nashville? Who's taking over in Columbia, South Carolina for 2024? I figured today we go through the new quarterbacks and break down what to expect from them going into next season. What's up, everybody? It's Cole Thompson from SEC Unfiltered. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, the ring notification to keep up with everything that we're doing over here on this channel. Follow me on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson. Follow my own YouTube channel at Mr. Cole Thompson. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play. Make sure that you're following us on social media at SEC Unfiltered. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. We're everywhere these days. And to keep up with everything that you need to know about the greatest conference in all of college athletics, make sure that you go ahead and visit us at secunfiltered.com. So the newcomers, there's a lot of them. Now, there's also some names that we don't know if they're going to win the starting job or not, i.e. Peyton Thorne at Auburn. But the newcomers that are joining the party might end up actually being better than the names ahead of them that just departed. And there's a lot of them. And there's a lot of expectations for some of these quarterbacks. And for others, let's just see how things pan out in fall camp and really spring practice before we go ahead and dub them the next big-time name in the SEC. For starters, Kentucky's Brock Vandagriff. I was very excited to go ahead and watch what he was going to do in Liam Cohen's offense. When I look at a Brock Vandagriff, I picture basically Will Levis 2.0. He was a top 5 quarterback in his recruiting class. He brought Carson Beck down to the wire at Georgia last offseason. In fact, if you were to talk to anybody that was covering the beat, watching the Bulldogs going through fall camp, they would all tell you the same thing. Brock Vandagriff in a starting role would have been fine. In fact, you may have even said he would have been just as qualified as Carson Beck. There was just a few little tidbits about Beck's game that made him stand out in practice. That doesn't mean that Brock Vandagriff is a bad quarterback. In fact, if you're a top 5 passer and a 5-star talent in your recruiting class, chances are you haven't lost the skill set. You just haven't gotten the playing time. And you played at Georgia of all places. To land a quarterback that was a part of a roster with the championship mantra, the physicality, and the expectations about making it to the college football playoff year in and year out, that's coming to Lexington. I get it. New offensive coordinator coming in place. But you still look at the attributes about what this kid has. Footwork out the wazoo, mobility to extend plays outside the pocket, good arm strength. This could be a really big year for the Wildcats. And I think a lot of people are expecting really nothing from Mark Stoops, which makes the Wildcats one of the most dangerous teams in college football this year. I've even come out and said, hammer the 7.5 wins. I think Kentucky has a very good shot of getting a 9-3, 10-2. They have weapons beyond belief. And I'm not talking about just Barry and Brown coming back. I'm talking about who was added in. Raymond Cottrell, Jamori Macklin from North Texas. You have a shot with Bushman now as your offensive coordinator to really take control. Plus, you know, there can be design runs with a guy like Vandergriff inside the red zone to tack on a few extra points. I think Kentucky's in really good hands this year. And if there can be continuity, regardless of Liam Cohen running the show or not, I think that you feel very confident with Brock Vandagriff as your new QB1. Oklahoma, they just lose one of the best quarterbacks in college football in Dillon Gabriel, not because he wasn't qualified, but because Jaxson Arnold is actually maybe an upgrade. Here's the thing. We can all look back at the bowl game and say, we have concerns. You should. But he was a freshman making his first major start in a new offense led by Seth Luttrell, who now is going to have an entire offseason to be able to work with him. Arm strength is there. Accuracy is there. Footwork, precision, touch on the football, delivery, everything that you're looking for in terms of a starting quarterback, you got in Jaxson Arnold. Here's what you need. Time. Just plain simple time. You go back and you look at some of the throws he made when he was throwing off foot balance and he was going to the left, trying to extend plays to the right. Those are freshman mistakes. Those are correctable. So imagine what you get with 12 games now at the helm with Arnold. You bring over a guy like Deion Burks from Purdue. Nick Anderson's not going anywhere as your other wide receiver 1. That's confidence to think that just with a few games underneath his belt, he could get better. I'm looking at week 4. Tennessee marches into town. This is going to be a battle of the newcomers, the big-time names, the future faces of the SEC for 2025 and beyond. That could be a matchup to eventually what we see in Atlanta come 2025. Maybe 2024, the defense holds itself in Norman. I really like this Oklahoma team. A lot of people are ready to go ahead and say, well, they'll be 7-5. They're okay with earning their keep. I think 9-3 is plausible. I think a college football playoff appearance, if they get fundamentally fixed offensively, mainly in the trenches, if they have a decent offensive line, it's very hard to say that Oklahoma can't be one of the dark horses of making it to the college football playoff. And if Jaxson Arnold is the truth, then I think you have an answer about what you can build on moving forward. South Carolina brings in LaNorris Sellers at quarterback. Now, he still has to win the job, but this is a big boy. This is a big son of a gun. He is not afraid to lower his shoulder. Best elected defensive coordinators putting a linebacker up against him in a spy formation. You're going to lose that battle 10 times out of 10. Plus, he wears the glasses. I mean, if that does not have swagoo dripping all over it, I don't know what does. Sellers pushed Spencer Rattler in practice. And the good thing was you could wait a year until you had to utilize him. He's got to be able to learn a pro-style offense underneath Dow Loggins. And because of, I think that mobility is going to play such a big deal, depending on what the offensive line looks like, a play is not going to fall behind the line of scrimmage. You could see minimal gains, whether it be gain of 7, gain of 9, gain of 11, gain of 13. He can utilize his legs, tuck and run on quarterback designs, and be able to push forward. That's what you want in Columbia next year. You have a good running back in Rocket Sanders joining the party. I think that the wide receivers that were brought in this offseason will be not upgrades over Juice Walls and Xavier Legette, but definitely at least formidable playmakers. I like the South Carolina team. I don't know what to expect from them. Are they going to be 8-4? Are we going to see the Shane Beamer special where maybe this is the 10-win season? Or are they going to be 6-6? But a 6-6 that can have building promise underneath a guy like LaNorris Sellers. Plus, when you wear those glasses, you already know that the retrospects are immediately a huge plus in my book. Diego Paiva goes from New Mexico State over to Vanderbilt. I actually think this is a kind of upgrade. You know, this was a quarterback that last year threw for over 3,000 yards with Jerry Kill, led the Aggies to a Conference USA title appearance, 23 touchdowns against 6 interceptions, has a little bit of mobility to his legs. He has to win the starting job. Let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. They also brought in Nate Johnson over from Utah, but there's something about a quarterback that was able to guide your team with a Jerry Kill-led offense to a conference title game that really stands out. I'm just looking for 3 wins. You look at the FanDuel betting line for a team like Vanderbilt this year, it's 2.5. You got Alcorn State, you got Georgia State, and you got another team that's on the schedule on top of a couple of winnable, manageable games on your radar that potentially you walk away with. You can't get to 3 wins. You can't get to 3 wins with what is at your dismay. I'm sorry. If you throw out the Virginia Tech game, your non-conference schedule is a cakewalk. You should feel confident with a quarterback like Paiva taking over. And I'm not saying that you need him to be a gunslinger throwing for 5,000 yards to get to a bowl eligibility. I'm saying 3 wins. I think Paiva can do that for you. He's got the mechanics, he's got the footwork, and he's got the experience as a starter. And I think that having the durability, which was a major issue with both Ken Seals and AJ Swan, is somewhat of an upgrade for the Commodores going into this year. I like this Commodore team in terms of getting to 3 wins, but we know it's Vanderbilt. Like, Vanderbilt fans don't even admit that they're Vanderbilt fans. You go to a game and you say, hey, is there a Vanderbilt graduate in the stand? Never a Vanderbilt fan. They will never show themselves out in the daylight. It's like vampires in that sense. LSU's Garrett Nussmeier. This, my friends, I know a lot of people like the quarterback that I'm going to talk about next. This is the quarterback I'm watching this year because everything falls in his hands. It's a new offensive play caller, but it's still the same offense underneath Joe Sloan. And we have seen what Garrett Nussmeier can do. He's not afraid to sling it. He is not afraid to go deep. He has good deep ball accuracy. He is not afraid to uncork it under pressure. He can maneuver outside the pocket. He can go short. You've watched him be able to have success in a limited role, whether it be in the SEC championship game last year, in the bowl game last year, last season against Wisconsin, 398 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. You get that version of Garrett Nussmeier working with Kyron Lacey. CJ Daniels comes on over from Liberty. That was a 1,000-yard receiver last season. You're feeling pretty confident. This could be an offense that maybe isn't as elite when it comes to the rushing attack. Last season, you didn't have a better quarterback than Jaden Daniels in all of college football. That was the epitome of what you wanted to run this offense. And it was why they got to 10 wins. But the deep ball accuracy is still there. The intermediate part of the field to be able to hold and connect with guys like Lacey and Daniels and whoever else comes in, it's there. The ability to be able to tuck it and run inside the red zone. The physicality of Nussmeier, not afraid to lower the shoulder to fight for those hard yards. You just need time. That's all this really comes down to, repetition. And the reason why Nussmeier is going to win the starting job, regardless of what happens with AJ Swan, is because if he has bought into the system. It's one thing when a head coach leaves and you decide to go ahead and hitch your wagon elsewhere, because that was not the guy who recruited you. But you stayed and you fought against Jaden Daniels. You made Jaden Daniels better in practice. And you showed Brian Kelly, I'm a part of the Tigers. I want to be a Bayou Bengal. And I want to be the reason why we're playing in Atlanta come early December. I want to be a reason why we're hosting a playoff game. You know what? Strike that. I don't even want to host a playoff game. I want to just be having that bye and get ready for the Elite Eight round. And I can be that quarterback. Yeah, there's going to come some trepidation when it comes to the deep ball. But at the same time, when you have a quarterback, you have the speed on the outside like a Kyron Lacey or a CJ Daniels, don't be afraid to sling it. Go ahead and let this kid cook. I promise you, you will walk away feeling much more confident with Garrett Nussmeier after you see him get quality reps underneath him. And if worse comes to worse, guess what? AJ Swan, not the worst backup out there. Tennessee's Nico Iamaleava. Let's talk about him. This is where bull syndrome comes in place, and I need to temper your expectations because everyone right now is giving him the bee's knees. You know what? I understand it. I've watched college football for the last decade plus. I've seen him with my own two eyes at the high school level. There was a reason he was the top recruit on On3's ranking in 2023. He's a human highlight reel. He can do it all. There's no ceiling for a guy like Nico Iamaleava. This is the best quarterback to walk through Rocky Top since Peyton Manning was there. T. Martin won a national championship, but the roster was good because Peyton Manning stabilized it. That's a quarterback. And here's the thing. You look back at Josh Heupel the last 3 years, what has he had? Quality quarterback play. I won't say elite. I think Hendon Hooker absolutely deserves his flowers. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC for 2022. They averaged 45 points with him underneath center, and they had one of the best passing attacks in college football. But these were quarterbacks that were inherited to a guy in Josh Heupel. This is a quarterback that he went out and scouted. This was a quarterback that he hand-selected to run his offense. So you already imagine thinking about this offense having, 455 yards per game? What if it gets to 525? What if it gets to 550? What if the passing attack is averaging 325 yards a game and 3.35 touchdowns? Nico Iamaleava is the truth when it comes to that. What I will say is, even though I do trust that there's going to be some quarterback design runs, his ability to manipulate defensive linemen at the line of scrimmage, his ability to connect in the middle of the field when it comes to running or passing, I'm going to still lower my expectations. Don't expect him to be the biggest name in college football by early October. When Alabama comes marching into town, if he has a foundation set underneath this roster and he's able to run Josh Heupel's offense to a T, just feel confident that now moving forward, this is a quarterback that is going to command respect by defensive coordinators. And he could. He just beat the living dog crap in the red zone out of Iowa. Iowa barely allowed anybody in the Big Ten to score touchdowns. He had 3 rushing touchdowns. There's positivity with Nico Iamaleava. Let's go ahead and not call him and crown him the next Heisman Trophy winner, but I like this offense. I like the fact that he already has an understanding and a year to adapt to what Heupel wants. This could be a reason why Tennessee is making it to the college football playoff. One more for you. Taylen Green leaves Boise State, comes on over to Fayetteville. I like this pickup mainly because I like Bobby Petrino. Bobby Petrino, from an offensive play calling standpoint, there's few in far in between as good as him in the SEC. I would make an argument he is the best offensive coordinator going into the SEC for 2024. The designs, the playmaking skills, the ability to construct his offense toward quarterback play, that's second to none. You know that you're going to get a good overall balance of rhythm whenever it comes to a Bobby Petrino offense. And he's worked with mobile quarterbacks in the past. And I'm not talking about, just guys who were able to maneuver outside the pocket. I'm talking about Lamar Jaxson. Remember the Heisman Trophy year? Yeah, who was the head coach at Louisville? That was Bobby Petrino. This is an offense that can be predicated on trusting quarterback design runs. Taylen Green is 6'3". He is not afraid to lower his shoulder. He's got a little bit of girth to his lower body, physical at the point of the run, and he's got a decent arm. He led Boise State to a Mountain West Conference title. There is reason for optimism in Fayetteville. Yeah, you're losing KJ Jefferson, but you're getting a guy who has a little bit more mobility, in my opinion, maybe a little bit more elusiveness to his game, and is still as physical as what you want in the rushing attack. If Taylen Green can learn how to become a better passer with the weapons that are at the Hogs' disposal, maybe we're talking about a 7-5 season, maybe 8-4 even for that matter. I don't know what to make of Arkansas right now, but I can tell you, I do think that you are getting a quarterback in Taylen Green that is going to be able to provide that physicality after the point of the attack and probably add a few more yards into the ground. That does bolster your rushing attack. Make sure that you follow us on SEC Unfiltered on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We're over there. Follow me on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson. Follow my own YouTube channel at Mr. Cole Thompson. Make sure you download the SEC Unfiltered podcast to keep up with everything we're doing on this channel. Google Play, iTunes, Spotify. Hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss a single episode of SEC Unfiltered. And for all of our great content covering the greatest conference in all of college athletics, make sure that you visit secunfiltered.com. I'm Cole Thompson. Until next time, folks, later.